Hello, it's your Wisconsin wine guy, and welcome back to Let's Talk Sake. Together, we're going to learn and dive deep into sake and learn about sake. Now, remember, I had 4 sake bottles lined up in one of my videos. The last video, or previous video I did, was on the Junmai. And those 4 bottles took you through different classes of sake. Now, sake goes into different classes. You have the non-alcoholic side, meaning no alcohol is added to it or it's not fortified. That's going to be Junmai, Junmai Ginjo, Junmai Dai Ginjo. And then you have the side in which the alcohol is added or fortified. And it's going to be, again, Ginju, Dai Ginju, Hanjozo. All right, simply just alcohol is added to those, and that's what kind of separates it, even though the classes are still the same. And that classes is made up of, are separated by rice polishing ratio. Rice polishing ratio, remember that? Well, rice polishing ratio represents the amount of rice that's left on the kernel when the rice is milled. You know, remember, certain ratios put you in a different class. Now, caveat, by no means does it mean that because a rice polishing ratio of 50% or 20% is going to be better quality than a rice polishing ratio of, say, 40 or 50%. That comes down to taste and determining if that sake is balanced. But these are simply just classifications. So again, last video we did a Junmai. Today we're going to be doing a Junmai Ginjo. Remember Junmai Ginjo. So we did Junmai, now Junmai Ginjo. And as before, I want to taste it at 2 different temperatures. You know, some sake is best served chilled. Some sake is best served at 2 temperatures, maybe a room temperature and a chill, or sometimes at multiple temperatures, a room temperature, a chill temperature, and maybe a hot temperature, warm or hot. All right. So I'm going to do 2 here. I have my Vino Temp. My sake just pulled out the refrigerator here is coming in at 40. Been sitting here for a while. It was coming in at like 45 degrees, whereas on my warmer, my sake is at 74 degrees, which would be like room temperature. Okay, I'm going to turn this down some more until we get to it. This is so cool to be able to adjust my temperatures. Now, this particular, remember on the previous one where I showed you the back of the bottle, it had all the detailed information about the sake, right? Well, this one isn't that quite detailed, but I'm getting better at reading the front label with the Japanese, but I still had to go to the website and find out more about this sake. So let me just give you some details. As I mentioned, this is going to be a Junmai Ginjo, and I have my twos. I have my sake meter value and acidity sheet. I have my sheet on the back that tells me about different flavors. And then I have some notes breaking down what the different categories are. So I went to the website, looked up to get the sake to get more details. So let's get to those details. 15% alcohol, 55% rice polishing ratio, in which Junmai Ginjo is 60% or less. Whereas Junmai can be like 70% or less, but it's non-standard. So we're now at 60% or less, meaning how much rice skin is left on the kernel after milling. So again, 55% rice polishing ratio on my notes, about 15% alcohol, 16% alcohol, sake meter value. Remember this? Sake meter value. Pluses determines dry, minus says sweetness. Sake meter value on this sake is going to be 0. So we have an axis, all right? 0. Then we go up +1, +2, +3, +4, etc. Then we go minus opposite way. So we're now at 0. So we're talking neutral. And think more in terms of like probably semi-dry, okay? If you're thinking about wine. And we also have acidity at 1.5. So we look at my sheet here. You can see that we have sake meter value at 0. We go over to 1.5, 1.4 right in the middle. We go up. So we're still looking at a sake that's going to be clean, dry, or semi-dry, right? Okay, so semi-dry or semi-sweet, whichever way you want to look at it. You know, everyone's palate is going to be different. So that's what we have for this sake. Let's give it a pour. I have my wine glass for the chilled sake. And I have my little shot glass here for the room temperature sake. Okay. Let's get this back on so it can stay at the temperature. And also have my water. So what we're going to do first, just like wine, think in terms of wine when you're tasting and evaluating sake. Now again, we're looking at the color of the sake. You know, warm or cold, the color isn't going to change, you know, much at all. So we're looking at the color of the sake. Here we have, you know, subtle yellow or yellow hues in the sake. You know, now sake, I consider sake a living thing, just like wine. You know, some sakes are heavy, all sakes are filtered. Some are heavily filtered, you know, whereas no particles are left, and some are like coarse filtered, in which you'll get some particles, and we'll be coming across a sake like that as well. So a nice clear to, you know, light rays of yellow inside this sake. You know, now in the nose, oh my. Wow. The nose is very fruity. Now it's interesting, and it could just be the glass here. I probably should put this in a wine glass, but I'm going to smell it right out the container here. Oh, but I have to go deep. But the nose, it's very, very noticeably ripe and fruity, chilled. I mean, it almost has like an apple type nose to it. Oh wow, that's pretty nice. But then warm, it's there but a little more subdued. Wow, what a difference. Now, for the taste, or a rinse, I want to feel the acidity. I'm thinking just like wine. Wow, that's just like nice, ripe, fruity. Really, it really has a taste of like almost like a Granny Smith apple. That is so cool. Nice balance. You know, more of a fruity taste and a sweet taste for me. You know, but very nice balance. Little kind of spicy notes there. But then in the finish, you get that. I like to say, for me, like a richness. Not necessarily richness, but a full flavor of the rice you get on the back end. But it's very subtle. Everything's very well blended in this at a chilled temperature. Now let's try it warm. But first I want to smell this right out of here. Oh yeah. That nose is a lot fuller at a warmer temperature. Keeping that lid on it traps in the aroma. Let's get a taste. Now, room temperature, it has more of a cool feel. There's a noticeable sweetness at a cool temperature. The acidity is still there, but there's definitely a noticeable sweetness at a cooler temperature. And I think, in my opinion, a lot more fuller flavor, you know, at a warmer temperature or cooler temperature. So chilled versus cool. I find both temperatures to be enjoyable for me. Oh wow, it really tastes like biting into a piece of fruit. But I definitely can see this one just being enjoyed. Nice full flavor, cool on the tongue, more crisp here, more cool and full on the tongue here in flavor. I mean, again, both temperatures to me are very flavorful. You know, maybe want to give this a try. I'll have the link again down in the description. I purchased my sakes from all over, but these sakes are coming from Tippsy Sake, online sake retailer. You know, and so there you have it with the it's called the Kinoene Junmai Ginjo. Kinoene Junmai Ginjo. And so there you have it. And as always, in Wisconsin, why I want to say to you, let your palate be the guide. In this case, was selecting your sake, I like this way. Kanpai!